What's up, you guys? Welcome to my workout. Today is February the 9th, 2024. It's about 5:20 p.m. This is my actual workout. It is not intended as a tutorial, instructional, nor a recommendation to do so yourself. This is just what I do, and on the breaks I'm going to try to explain to you what I'm doing and why I do it. I'm going to be doing a dumbbell swing today, and I do it in a slightly different way. As we go along here, you'll find out that I'm a big fan of not training flat-footed, or another way of putting that is I like to involve my feet and my calves in as many different exercises as I possibly can, because I feel that just makes me a better athlete, and it also helps me to spread or distribute stress and force more evenly throughout my body, which for some of the issues that I have is very helpful in allowing me to train and recover and not exacerbate any of the conditions that I've been accumulating over my lifetime. Okay, so let's jump in. I'm also gonna, okay, so this is how I gotta get up. All right, my toe is stiff, my knee is stiff. I get up like an old man. I just want to be truthful with you guys. You know, I am not some mobility phenom. I'm stiff. Right now I'm pretty sore. Some of you have asked if I train fasted. I don't. I have a very fast metabolism, so when I'm hungry I can't focus and I can't generate a lot of power. So that's just me. Although the last time I ate was at about 1 p.m. So yeah, it's been a few hours, but I'm feeling good. Okay, so dumbbell swing. This is a great exercise. I'm doing this because, you know, I like to jump rope, but some days my knees can't take the impact. And this is also a wonderful exercise if you have light dumbbells. These are just 10 pounds. Even lighter dumbbells work great for this. They can build a lot of functional mobility and capacity in your body, but they also can build the cardio in a way similar to what kettlebells would do for you. So this is a cool thing to know how to do with dumbbells, because most people have them, and a lot of people have a pair or two that they feel are too light for normal movements. So this is something you can do. All right, so to warm up, I always like to start with what I call a double X posture. That means extended spine, expanded rib cage. You want to stand like a bodybuilder on stage. I'm also flaring my lats. The reason for this is it takes slack out of my spine, and also makes sure that everything is aligned into center. Sometimes we can kind of, without realizing it, start from positions like this. I'm exaggerating, but if we double X the posture, extended spine, expanded rib cage, standing like a bodybuilder, now my core is symmetrically engaging my rib cage, my spine, and my hips, supporting everything as evenly as possible. And I like starting from the longest lever possible. I feel like I can access the most muscles, especially the ones that tend to lie dormant from more random starting positions. All right, so if I'm starting here, and then I bend my knee slightly, so that engages my leg muscles. From this position, I'm going to pretend I'm standing in a wind tunnel, and I'm going to lean my chest into the wind. That brings me onto my toes and activates my calves, as well as the muscles and the arches of my feet. From this position, I'm flaring my lats. What I'm going to do is what I call a gorilla squat. I did it a little bit with these giant power block dumbbells, but you can do it with light bells as well. So here's what it looks like. From this starting position, I'm going to round my shoulders. My scapulae, my shoulder blades are moving as far away from the spine as possible, kind of like the way you'd start a Jefferson curl. So I call this gorilla arms. From this position, I'm now going to I'm not trying to bend my spine. I'm trying to stretch the fascia over my lats and my back. So I'm suspended on the fascia, even though it looks like I'm hanging a lot of weight on a flexed spine. I'm not feeling a thing in my spine. I feel it stretching over the fascia of my shoulders and my back. From this position, I'm now going to use my legs to lower my hips. I don't care about the weights that are in my hands. I'm only trying to lower my hips as far as I can go. If the bells get to the floor, that's fine. If not, the floor is not the goal. I had an instructor that used to tell me that all the time. All right. And then once I come, I'm still trying to make this gorilla arms rounded position and then at the top, I'm going to go back to double X. Extended spine, expanded rib cage. You want to stand like a bodybuilder on stage. A lot of the practices of bodybuilding, if you apply them to your weightlifting or your strength training, will greatly improve the effects of any exercise that you choose to do from those positions. Okay, so once again, I'm just going to warm up my calves, my legs. So backing up, double X posture, unlocking my knees to activate the upper legs, leaning into the wind to activate the lower legs. Now, gorilla posture. I should feel my lats and my back fascia stretching. If you want to know what fascia is, imagine wearing a very tight shirt, and let me go back up. From this position, your fascia should feel like if you're wearing a tight shirt, like a muscle shirt. And if you were to do this, you would feel that shirt stretching over the entire width and length of your back. And that's what I'm feeling here. I'm feeling nothing in my spine. And I can go much heavier than this, and my fascial network will support tons this way, and my spine will be perfectly fine. Okay, so after I've warmed that up a little bit, I'm now gonna warm up my hip hinge, okay? Because swings are front to back movements. So I don't wanna start this exercise with a knee hinge, which is gonna make my hips go up and down. I want a hip hinge, so my hips go back and then they go forward or back to front. Because when I start swinging, my hips are my center of mass on this exercise for my body. So I want the heaviest part of me to be doing the same thing as the weights that are swinging around me, okay? So once again, I'm going to just practice a strongly hip hinged squat. The way I do that, I start from double X, soften my knees. If my hips are a pot and my body is a plant, I don't want to dump that pot out the back. I just want to tilt both the pot and the plant. I can let my arms kind of go into that gorilla position here. And then from here, I'm just going to sit back to whatever level my body just stops. If I go farther, I'll be pushing myself into a part of both knees that's a little stiff, and I don't force that right now. I just come back up. I don't lock out. I just go right back, right into here. Right now, just breathe any way that feels good for you. And I don't do a lot. I'm just gonna do a few of them here. Okay, so from there, I've warmed that up. I'm not dumbing this down for you guys. That's literally the number of reps I warm up with. From that, I'm now gonna start doing this. So if I can do this, then I can start doing this. Exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm trying to match the front to back movement of these dumbbells with the front to back movement of my hip. And yes, my knees will start to poke forward a little towards the bottom, but I'm initiating this movement from the hip hinge. by bending at the hip. And also what makes this effective in both kettlebell and dumbbell swings is if you initiate from the hip, you'll maintain the vertical integrity of your shin bones. If you imagine all the weight of your body and whatever's in your hand, there's a lot of force bearing down on you. You don't want the foundations of you doing this a whole bunch. You want those, as the force is here, you want that force driving straight down through your shins. Whether you're in a kettlebell position or a more narrow dumbbell position, as much as possible, you want to try to maintain the vertical integrity and orientation of your shins. Okay, so I'm gonna try and put this whole thing together. So a normal dumbbell swing looks like this. Now here's something that's important. Whether I'm using, you can also do this with kettlebells, obviously, but it would seem to make sense to have these bells running just sidelong along your body, okay, like this. Don't do that. I call this a wedge pattern. So the bells are moving towards my midline and dropping far outside my knees. Don't worry if they come out here. They're not going to pull you in that direction, especially if they're both doing that at the same time. Okay, they'll cancel each other out, you'll be fine. But this the body can sense the risk inherent with this, and it'll start to do this. Collapse your knees inwards, and that's no good. Not only is that not good for your knees and your hips and everything else, you also, you abandon the muscles that you're trying to actually train and strengthen. So you're getting a lot of bad torsion and twisting into your joints in exchange for no muscle training. That's a loser equation. So anyway, let's go back to it. So this is what, or how I like to do a dumbbell swing. Once again, it's okay as my hips go backwards for my torso angle to change into what looks like almost a horizontal position. That's fine, as long as I'm not losing. What we don't want, I'm gonna go real quick into this. Straight back, a straight back in weightlifting does not mean a vertical back. Okay, that gets a lot of people in trouble. My back curvatures, when I'm upright here, if I go about 90 degrees this way, those curvatures are the same, okay? So my back is technically straight in this position, because when I come up, here's what we don't want. This position, yeah, now energy leakages all throughout the back. Imagine pulling on a fishing line or a fishing pole that's too thin for the fish that's attached to it. If you have a really heavy fish on a bamboo fishing pole, as you pull, all your energy is going to go into bending the fishing pole. Okay? So I know that gets a little confusing because on the first exercise, I was purposely doing that. But I prepare the fascia like that in case on some of the movements I do lose my position, that fascial network is ready to help me. Okay, so, but as I'm actually doing this, I don't want that fishing pole, which is my spine, I don't want it flexing. Now, here's the important part. This is what can turn this into like a type of heavy jump rope, but without so you get all the cardiovascular benefits of jumping rope with something that's much heavier than a jump rope. So you get a strength component that the rope won't give you, but you don't get all the impact and micro trauma to the joints that you might get, especially when you start jumping tired, okay? So I'm gonna add my feet to this now. And even though it looks like I am tippy-toeing, here's what's really going on. As the bells gain energy here, and then I have to absorb all that energy and then recycle it into the next movement. As the bells come up, they're accelerating, and the centrifugal force they are exerting on my body is pulling me this way. What I'm simply doing is leaning back just enough against that centrifugal force to allow it to pull me onto my toes. So another thing that's real important, if you feel like you're doing this with your arm, or you're using your arms to swing the bells, that is why this is not going to feel right. Your arms should be kind of loose, inert ropes. Like, I don't recommend this, but I only have 3 fingers on these bells right now. So you can see I'm not gripping them. If I can't grip them, I can't really swing them with my arms too much. I just have to kind of, they're just attached to me. And this, as they are accelerating upwards, centrifugal force that is being exerted on me again with those bells pulling me this way draws me up on my toes. A lot of athletes, wrestlers, tons of, and just forget that. In life, there will be times where you might be displaced forward against your will. Say, like, just trying to like control a shopping cart. You know how sometimes you get rolling too quick and then somebody steps in front of you and you have to go, whoa! Well, the feet and the calves are gonna help you not run over that lady's toes at Costco, all right? So there's a lot of functional application to training, to train yourself to have forces pull you forward, and you having the conditioning and the intelligence in your lower body to deal with that, okay? So let's go one more time on that, and then I'm gonna increase the weight a little bit. Once again, arms are loosey-goosey. I'm not doing this. I don't want, no. Okay, so right here. I start from double X, got the spine, posture, core engaged. So to start, if you want on the first rep to just bring them up, just so you can get that little kick backwards behind you, that's fine. Here's the way I start. I tighten my lats so I can do, you know, like if I can do this, then I can also do once again, the bells are moving in towards my midline and falling outside, way clear of my knees. And I'm also trying to remember to, as I'm coming up on my toes, and when I say my toes, I mean the big toe and the number 2 toe. I try to ignore the smaller 3 toes on all plantar flexion or tiptoe movements. Okay. I'm not tired, but my left knee, which is got some issues, was starting to kind of get a little bit edgy. So for me, I've learned not to push that too hard. If I respect that, I stop. I give my body time to reorganize itself. By that I mean my body felt that. It doesn't like it any more than I do. So as I'm talking to you right now, the autonomic nervous system, which is just this fantastic genie, is figuring out how to recruit more units to make that, to divert force away from some of the possibly damaged areas in my knee, okay? I say possibly because for personal reasons, I don't like to get them scoped or looked at as long as they function well for me. Unless things get really bad, I'm not gonna go for that, because once you tell me something's torn or ruptured or broken, I can't get that out of my head. The same reason why I don't go to see fortune tellers, because if they tell me tomorrow I'm gonna die, then I probably will, because I tend to believe all that shit. Okay, so 20-pound dumbbells now. These, obviously, especially on the upswing, the centrifugal force as they come up, and all that force is being generated by me at the top. I now have to gather all of that force back with my feet and my entire body, and then bring it back, decelerate that force. So there's just this big an energy loop that's going on here. I don't know if you noticed, but I did not wrap my thumbs around the bells. I tend to like to do that because I shouldn't have to grip the bells to do what I just did. If I am moving, if I'm starting with the right posture and the timing of my hip hinge and everything is going well, I don't need to move the bells with any upper body. The only thing that's going on at the top is kind of, as the bells are trying to protract my shoulder blades this way, I'm trying to hold my position by isometrically and reactively retracting my scapulae. What I mean by reactively is the force down here is low, but it still wants to do this. As I come up higher, the force is now higher, and it still wants to do this. What's nice about this, especially if you're a wrestler and guys try to grab your arm and just pull on you all of a sudden, is if you are practiced at, as the force pulling your shoulders here increases as you come up in anything you do, but as that force is being exerted on you, you can just keep adjusting. So instead of this happening, no, I'm gonna just retract. It's like anti-lock brakes. It reacts only to the force that's being exerted, okay? So we're gonna go one more time. 20 pounds. All right, so I start flat-footed. Always start with the bend in the knees, double X posture. Okay, if you happen to be counting how many reps I'm doing, that's great, but I don't count reps. I only go by the cues that tell me that I need to stop the set. The first cue is my inability to match my breathing pattern to what I'm doing. And then, of course, other cues would be pain. Not the good pain, but the bad pain. The bad pain is defined by every subsequent rep. The pain in a very localized area or a general area gets measurably worse per rep. That's not good pain. At least for me, it's not. I do not grind into that. And despite some of the conditions I deal with, I believe that approach has allowed me to not progress them any further than I should. Okay, that's 20 pounds. Let's see, oh, the breathing. Okay, let me, you know, I don't have 30-pound dumbbells. I really wish I had a pair of 30-pound dumbbells, but that's a popular weight, and I can't seem to find it at the local yard sale. So I'm just gonna boost up to these 40 pounders, and it's a good opportunity for me to, so obviously I've just doubled the weight, so things are gonna change, as they will probably for you as well. Number one, you don't need 40 pounds or even 20 pounds to get tons of benefit from this. Anything from 10 pounds down, especially if you're new to it, you're gonna get huge returns, okay? If you decide to do this, it's not about the weight. But I've been doing this a lot, and 40 pounds is a good thing for me to do because it changes everything. Even though the exercise looks the same, obviously the forces being imposed on me are much higher, and the muscular demands, meaning the amount of muscle fibers, the literal amount of muscle tissue it takes for me to swing those 20-pound dumbbells. When I do the same, apply the same mechanics to 40-pound dumbbells, the amount of muscle tissue that is required to do that, my brain now has to figure out how to recruit that extra tissue, and not just recruit it dumbly, it has to synchronize it into this, all the different parts of this lift at the speed of what I call speed of competition. Okay, so it has to be able to index all of those things at this rate. I might not look like I'm moving quickly, but compared to a standard squat or deadlift, that is very fast. And then when we add the toes, the ankles, and all those little joints and muscles attached to it, it adds to the complexity of the recruitment process, and that's a good thing, okay? So that's another reason I would rather use light weights and challenge a bunch of different systems and get them all not just smarter, but cohesively smarter. The way a porpoise's body, it's not segmented. When a porpoise or a dolphin swim or they jump, the entire body is involved in that. Sorry, I got a little bit carried away, but all right, let's go 40 pounds. Ooh. And all right, so just picking those up, I kind of felt my left knee say, oh shit. But all right, so one of the ways I like to spread the weight of what's in my hands over the greatest surface area of my body is, once again, knee slightly bent. I extend my spine, I expand my rib cage like a bodybuilder on stage. And yes, my lats are feeling this much more than anything else. All right, so let me just show you. I don't know if I'm facing the camera right, but this is no good, okay? And I'm on a slope here, so my legs are gonna look a little funny, but this is what you want your starting position on everything, your squats, anything that puts you here, even your curls. If you start from this position and you curl, you're gonna be so much stronger. Because if you just start a curl from here, you're actually pulling yourself down. But if you start strong up here and you initiate the curl, it's gonna feel harder, but the force that your muscles are generating will go right into the bell. And the reason why it's gonna feel harder is because so much energy is being diverted away from your biceps to hold this posture. So you might have to back down to a lighter weight, but it'll be worth it over the short term, because not only are you gonna get stronger biceps, you will systemically be stronger. Okay, thus endeth the sermon. Let's go here. So this is heavy. I'm gonna just test it flat-footed. Okay, that's feeling okay. Okay. Now with the heavier weights. By the way, The distance, okay, here's the things that don't matter to me. Number one, the weight I use is never the goal. I'm never trying to say, okay, I'm gonna hit those 40 pounds. I got 50-pound dumbbells. I'm not gonna touch those today, all right? But the weight for me is not the goal. Moving perfectly and breathing perfectly with the movement, with the weight, that is much more important to me than just how much weight I'm lifting. I also, oh shucks, you know, I have a little ADHD, so I kind of forgot what I was gonna say. But anyway, let me just get into the next set and stick around. After this set, if I remember to, I'll explain the breathing, because that's really important. Because yes, I know it looks a little opposite of what most of you are taught to do. And anyway, I'll explain that. Just taking my excuses to rest up, and maybe I'll remember what I was trying to say to you guys. Okay, so another thing, when you pick weights up, if I just try to lift up from here, that's not going to go well for me. At the very least, I'm going to waste a lot of energy, and I could even hurt myself. So what I'll do is, if I got to keep my heels here in order to stay in frame. So if I was dumb enough to put the bells here, I know to just put them here. When I start them off the floor, they shouldn't drift. Okay, if they drift, that means I either need to move up to them or I need to move them back. So from here, when I exert with my legs, they come straight up. So from here, okay. Oh, the other point I was going to make was, I don't care about the weight for the sake of weight. I also don't care about range of motion, especially on a movement like this. The goal is not to swing these up to my shoulder height or above my head. If I can, good. But probably with this weight, that might not be happening. Okay, so I stopped because I'm getting tired. Decelerating those weights is very energy expensive. It's not like just holding two 40-pounders and slowly moving them up and down against the vertical pull of gravity. When you have weights that are moving and accelerating in arcs, you know that anything, the static weight of any object is multiplied greatly with speed. So what's static in the hand, say 40 pounds here, as we start moving it, the impulse loads both here, usually right down here, that might go up. I don't know the physics of it, but it goes up a lot. Hopefully somebody else can answer that. So as I take a weight that's 40 pounds static here, and I start going, boom, that, I generated all the energy that's bearing down on me first had to be generated by me, and then I have to now reabsorb that eccentrically into the body. So the eccentric loading pattern here is good for two reasons. It teaches your muscles to elongate eccentrically at a higher speed. And if you ever slip like that, and these muscles are only trained to lengthen slowly, boom, something has to give, something pops. But if you are training that's why swings, kettlebell swings are just, that's what separates them from a lot of more static or up and down. There's not static, but momentum, non-arcing types of movements where you're having to generate acceleration. Then you have to absorb it at the top with your body, and then you have to absorb all of it at the bottom. After doing so, then you have to concentrically rebound out of that. That's where the power of swinging comes from. Okay, and now I want to keep this short. I also got to go in because it's dinner time, but let's go one more time. with these 40s. Okay, you know what? Here's a good lesson. I know that if I were to continue with a set I just did based on the feedback I'm getting from my body, I'd just be trying to show off to you guys. And I'm not above bailing on a set. At my age, if I've learned that's a good thing to do. I'm not here to train my ego, I'm here to train my body. So that set, that final set, I was hoping for it, but as soon as I loaded down, this guy said no. And I've known this guy well enough, kind of the reason why this guy is not happy in the first place, but I know well enough that anything I try to do would be just for the social media or whatever, it wouldn't be worth it. So the important takeaway on this is just because you're training with somebody else, doesn't matter what. Don't take that mentality I used to take, like, well, you put the weight on the bar, you're gonna lift it. That, no one is ever gonna care. Nobody is, all right? And anybody that gives a shit about you, they will care more about you saying, you know, I'm good, I'm gonna take some weight off, or I'm gonna use some lighter dumbbells, if they really care about you. But at the end of the day, no one is gonna care, really, if you have to back down from a set. So keep that in mind. Okay, here we go. This will be my last set, 20 pounds. Yeah, see, knee is happy with this. I have the motor units to accommodate 20 pounds. And if it looks like I'm tippy-toeing a long time, no. As the weights, let me exaggerate what I'm doing here. This is really important. I did a big explanation of kind of keeping my shoulder blades, what they call packed, I believe. So as the weight's coming out, not letting them protract. So, all right, so as I'm swinging, what normally, even on a regular kettlebell swing, what you're supposed to not let happen is let that happen, okay? For me, I'm a big fan of that happening. So I couldn't handle 40 pounds for a final set, but what I can handle, I'm big on this gorilla thing. So right now, once again, what looks like bad posture, it's not a problem because it's not being supported by my spine. If you were to put on 10 tight shirts and do what I'm doing with weight in your hand, your spine would be fine as well, assuming there's nothing wrong with it, because all you'd feel is those shirts stretching and supporting this position. So the fascia or connective tissue, the sausage casing around my back, that's bearing all this. Now I can do this. With this, because now I have very long levers. Okay, so in exchange for a lighter weight, I'm gonna lengthen the lever. I'm gonna go in this. You should never do this shoulder blade position. And what that allows me to do is, as the bells come on the upswing, as they accelerate and the centrifugal force being exerted on me increases in that direction, I get to push backwards with my calves. I don't know how to, I get to do this, okay? I have to do that because especially I have no more, all the slack is taken up here. And by the way, this is a really good, in my opinion, hanging out with weights, doing this, when you can actually have all that space to move into. That isometric effect, for me, I love that. I believe that's a big injury-proofing exercise for my back. Once again, I have to say I don't recommend this to other people. This is just what I do. Final set here, and we can all go in. So I'm leaning as the bells come up. I'm actually kind of leaning back. I'm gonna try to exaggerate so you can see. And the bells are pulling me onto my toes. So yes, it becomes kind of a little Jefferson curly in the spine. All right. Whew. Okay. I guess you don't want to hear me just kick the air and go, huh. Hi. So, I guess we're done. If you're still here, thank you very much. I really appreciate you watching this. And I hope some of the takeaways will be helpful to you. And yeah, it's Friday today, so have a great weekend. Bye.